5 minutes, everybody.
Okay, who's ready to put on a show? Oh, that's the spirit.
The year 2000’s, a time when television was standing at a crossroads. The old laugh tracks of the 90s were beginning to fade, and reality TV was rising fast. Networks were desperate to find the next big thing, something fresh, funny, and unforgettable. But for every Friends or Everybody Loves Raymond, there were dozens of shows that didn't stand a chance. Big stars, big budgets, and even bigger expectations. Yet many of them vanished almost as quickly as they appeared.
Roy. Roy.
These weren't small experiments. They were full-scale productions packed with Hollywood talent and hype. But one by one, they crashed and burned. Some after a few weeks, others after a single night on air. So today, we're turning back the clock to the year 2000. A strange, experimental, and sometimes disastrous era in television history. To revisit the sitcoms that promised everything and delivered almost nothing.
She was asking me about colleges the other day.
Oh my God, I hope she doesn't apply to Vassar. I told her I went there.
From Bette Midler's flashy primetime debut, to Geena Davis's suburban Misfire, to a comedy that tried to make the internet funny before the internet even understood itself. These are the shows that failed spectacularly, and the stories behind why they did.
Soft back rub, tell her she's fabulous.
All right, get in there. Now the rest of you, let's get busy. And remember, no one looks her in the eyes. Go, go.
Let's rewind to a time when networks took wild risks, stars aimed for small screens, and the word canceled came faster than the closing credits.
His name again?
Jeff Messina.
I thought you said it was Jay.
Damn it! You see, this is exactly why Meryl Streep will never be your best friend!
Bette, CBS 2000. Our first stop is a prime example of how even a world-class entertainer can't always turn star power into sitcom magic. Back in 2000, CBS rolled the dice on a glitzy new comedy built entirely around one woman, Bette Midler. The idea was simple. She'd play a slightly exaggerated version of herself, a beloved stage icon juggling fame, family life, and her love of breaking into spontaneous show tunes. It sounded like a sure thing. After all, Midler had fans of every generation, and CBS believed they were about to create television gold. The pilot episode proved them right. At first, more than 14 million people tuned in, making it one of the most watched premieres of that fall season. But soon after, the shine started to fade.
Anything you say, love.
She's so nice.
She's why I believe in God.
Behind the scenes, the production quickly became chaotic. Bette Midler is known for her perfectionism, and she had very strong opinions about everything, from lighting angles to how each punchline landed. Writers were constantly rewriting jokes until late at night, trying to match her rhythm. That perfectionism came with a cost. The creative process slowed down, and consistency went out the window. Then came the casting drama. In the pilot, Bette's teenage daughter was played by a young Lindsay Lohan. Yes, that Lindsay Lohan. But when episode 2 arrived, she was mysteriously gone, replaced by another actress with no real explanation. Audiences noticed, critics rolled their eyes, and suddenly the show's momentum was gone.
Then a watch.
Oh, wow. $10.
You're welcome.
The bigger issue, though, was the show's tone. Some episodes leaned toward wild, over-the-top comedy. Others tried to deliver heartfelt family lessons. It couldn't decide what kind of show it wanted to be, Broadway camp or domestic sitcom, and ended up somewhere awkwardly in between. As weeks went by, ratings plummeted. Bette herself started voicing frustration in interviews, admitting the TV grind was exhausting and not creatively fulfilling. CBS tried to make last-minute changes, but the chemistry was gone. After 18 episodes, the show was canceled, with 2 of them never even airing in the U.S. So what was supposed to be a glamorous comeback for one of showbiz's biggest names turned into a cautionary tale. Bette Midler went back to music and films, and she never returned to sitcom TV again. And honestly, that might have been the right call. The Geena Davis Show, ABC 2000.
Hey, by the way, how old was that peep?
I don't know. It was in the cupboard when we bought the house.
Right after Bette Midler's Misfire, another Hollywood powerhouse tried her hand at small-screen comedy. This time, Geena Davis coming off legendary films like Thelma and Louise and A League of Their Own. Davis had charisma, wit, and an Oscar to her name. So naturally, ABC thought, why not build an entire sitcom around her charm? Enter The Geena Davis Show, a glossy suburban meets Manhattan comedy about a stylish career woman who gives up city life to move in with her boyfriend and his 2 kids. Think Sex and the City collides with Step by Step. On paper, it looked like a hit waiting to happen.
Judy, you're being ridiculous.
What's that you're saying? I'm shocked and surprised. Why, I've never heard of such a thing. See, this girl can act.
ABC placed it in a prime slot right after Dharma and Greg, one of their most popular shows. The pilot performed respectably, with a strong start in the ratings. But as the weeks went on, the audience started drifting away. And fast. Critics were divided from day one. Some said the show was too polished to feel relatable. Others felt it couldn't decide on its identity. Was it a satirical look at city snob culture, or a heartfelt family story about compromise and parenting? Unfortunately, it never committed to either. The jokes often felt safe and predictable, while the emotional beats lacked sincerity.
Coffee. Must have coffee. What up, Carter?
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Behind the curtain, the writing process was messy. Multiple writers cycled in and out during the first season, each trying to put their stamp on the material. That led to uneven tone and pacing. One week the show felt quirky and adult. The next, it felt like a generic family sitcom. Still, Geena Davis did everything she could to make it work. Her performance was consistently likable, and every so often, a line or scene would sparkle with the clever energy the network had hoped for. But those bright moments weren't enough to rescue a concept that never quite found its voice.
Wonderful thing anyone's ever done. I hope you'll be happy for the rest of your life. Oh, listen to me, I'm nice.
By the middle of the season, ratings had slipped below the network's comfort zone. After just one season of 22 episodes, one of which never aired, ABC quietly pulled the plug. In hindsight, The Geena Davis Show wasn't a disaster, just a mismatch between talent and material. It felt like ABC wanted to recreate the success of their other quirky, female lead comedies, but didn't understand what made them connect with audiences in the first place. Davis would later return to television, and even the White House, when she starred in Commander-in-Chief a few years later, proving she could absolutely carry a show, just not this one. Comedy, ABC 2000. Before YouTube, before memes ruled the world, and long before TikTok dances took over your phone screen, there was comedy. ABC thought it had a revolutionary idea: bring internet humor to television. Unfortunately, the result felt more like watching your dad explain what a meme is. Hosted by the energetic Sklar brothers and Annabelle Gurwitch, the show was a bizarre attempt to package online humor into a traditional sitcom format. It featured viral clips, early flash animations, and short web skits, all introduced with canned laughter and awkward transitions. ABC promoted it as a new way to experience comedy, but in practice it came off as painfully forced. Imagine someone taking the wild, unpredictable chaos of the early internet and trying to fit it neatly inside a 22-minute network show, complete with a laugh track. The result was cringe-worthy television that audiences instantly rejected. The show premiered in November 2000, and that was also the end. ABC pulled the plug after airing just one episode. Critics didn't hold back. One review called it the world's longest chain email brought to life. Another joked it was like a school assembly where teachers explain how funny the internet is. The problem wasn't just bad timing. It was that the internet's sense of humor thrived on being raw, chaotic, and unpolished. Comedy tried to sanitize that chaos into something family-friendly and structured, and it completely missed what made online content exciting in the first place. Behind the scenes, several more episodes had already been filmed, 5 in total. But after the disastrous premiere, ABC decided none of them would ever see the light of day. Today, comedy exists only as a piece of internet trivia. a too-early-for-its-time experiment that predicted the viral video culture, but about a decade too soon. If it had come out in the YouTube era, maybe it would have worked. But in 2000, network TV just wasn't ready for the web's brand of weirdness. The Michael Richards Show, NBC 2000.
Look great on paper, Stacy. Degree in criminology, experience in corporate security.
Fluent in Japanese.
No kidding. Say nostril.
Next up, we have one of the most famous cases of post-sitcom burnout in TV history. The Michael Richards Show. After Seinfeld ended in 1998, every network wanted a piece of its magic. And who better to bring that energy than Michael Richards himself, the man who made Kramer a household name. NBC clearly thought lightning could strike twice, but it turned out to be a short, stormy mess. In this show, Richards played Vic Nardosa, a bumbling private investigator with a knack for making simple tasks wildly complicated. Sound familiar? Yeah, it was basically Kramer in a trench coat. NBC had initially pitched the show as something different, a grounded character piece about a quirky but clever detective. But the moment cameras started rolling, it became obvious that audiences expected Kramer-like chaos, and the network panicked. The show began reshaping itself to resemble Seinfeld's physical humor, and in doing so, lost any sense of originality. Critics quickly noticed. One review described it perfectly. It's like they took Kramer out of his apartment and forgot to bring the funny with him. The tone was inconsistent. One episode leaned into slapstick, another tried to be a serious detective story, and neither approach worked. The writing room was in constant flux, with scripts being rewritten and reshot as NBC executives desperately tried to fix what was broken. By the time the first few episodes aired, the damage was done. Audiences tuned in expecting Kramer 2.0, but instead found a watered-down version of the character they loved, stuck in a show that didn't know what it wanted to be. After 8 episodes, one unaired, NBC canceled the series. For Richards, it was a hard reality check. He'd gone from one of TV's biggest comedy icons to a failed lead within months. The experience was so discouraging that he stepped away from television for years. Still, The Michael Richards Show remains an important example of how hard it is for breakout sitcom stars to replicate their success. Sometimes the magic only works when all the right people and the right writing are there. The Trouble with Normal, ABC 2000.
Each of you could find a date and then support each other by all going out together.
As long as nobody tells my husband.
Every era has that one show that tries to be too clever for its own good. And in 2000, that was The Trouble with Normal. The concept was undeniably unique. 4 men in therapy for extreme paranoia. They believe the government's watching them, technology is out to get them, and aliens might be hiding in their microwaves. The series followed their chaotic therapy sessions and offbeat attempts to expose the truth. Created by Victor Fresco, who later made Better Off Ted, the show had potential. It was satirical, sharp, and full of ideas. Unfortunately, ABC's constant interference turned it into a creative mess. Originally, the pilot had a different name, People Who Fear People, and a completely different cast. The network didn't like it, so they reshot the pilot, changed the actors, renamed it The Trouble with Normal, and adjusted the tone weeks before launch. By the time it premiered, it had no clear identity. The cast, however, was solid. John Cryer, David Krumholtz, Brad Rader, and Larry Joe Campbell as the 4 neurotic friends, with Paget Brewster as their therapist. The writing had glimmers of brilliance, clever dialogue, quirky humor, and glimpses of the absurdist comedy style that shows like Community would later perfect. But being ahead of its time turned out to be a curse. Viewers didn't know what to make of it. Was it a character-driven comedy, a satire of modern anxiety, or just a weird show about conspiracy nuts? Critics couldn't agree either. Some praised its originality. Others said it was too weird to be funny, and ABC didn't do it any favors by airing it on Friday nights, the infamous TB graveyard slot. After just 5 episodes, the show was canceled, with 9 more filmed but never aired in the US. Over time, The Trouble with Normal gained a tiny cult following among fans of quirky comedy who stumbled across old clips online. Many said it felt like a mix between Arrested Development and X-Files, an odd, ambitious experiment that might have thrived on cable or streaming years later. In the end, the show's downfall wasn't a lack of creativity. It was a lack of direction and timing. In 2000, audiences just weren't ready for a show that laughed at paranoia instead of playing it straight. NBC 2000.
An ornament competition, then we filled Grandpa's train set full of doggy treats, and we watched the puppies chase it.
When NBC launched DAG in late 2000, they thought they had the perfect mix of star power and premise. The network promoted it as a sharp, political workplace comedy with a unique twist to the Secret Service meets sitcom. With David Alan Grier at the helm, the potential was undeniable. The story followed Jerome Dag Daggett, a Secret Service agent who, after a high-profile blunder, gets demoted to guarding the First Lady instead of the President. What could go wrong, right? Well, everything. On paper, it sounded hilarious. A man used to danger and dignity now stuck handling flower arrangements and small talk in the East Wing. A setup full of comic potential. But the execution fell flat. From the very first episode, the show couldn't decide what kind of comedy it wanted to be. One scene felt like political satire, the next like a family sitcom, and then suddenly slapstick humor. The result was a tonal roller coaster that left audiences unsure how to feel. David Alan Grier did his best. His comedic timing and natural charm carried many weak scenes. But the scripts were inconsistent, and the jokes rarely landed. Even Delta Burke, who played the flamboyant First Lady, couldn't save the show from its uneven writing. Her character was written as cartoonishly loud and unpredictable, which quickly got exhausting to watch. Behind the scenes, NBC executives grew nervous. They'd invested heavily in DAG as part of their fall lineup, but early ratings were lukewarm. Rather than letting the show find its footing, they started moving it around the schedule. A death sentence for any sitcom trying to build an audience. By early 2001, the network had seen enough. DAG was quietly canceled after 17 episodes, ending its run with more confusion than closure. What's interesting, though, is that DAG wasn't an awful idea. It just lacked focus. If the writers had leaned into political satire or turned it into a West Wing meets comedy hybrid, it might have worked. But instead, it tried to please everyone, and ended up pleasing no one. David Alan Grier later joked in interviews that the show was fun to make, but hard to understand. That about sums it up. Normal, Ohio, Fox 2000.
And it's the jerk who taught you how to drive.
Well, that would be you, big brother.
Our final stop takes us to Normal, Ohio, a show that deserves a spot in TV history for being both ambitious and confusing at the same time. In 2000, Fox wanted to prove it could do more than edgy animations and over-the-top comedies. They wanted a sitcom with heart, something that tackled real topics while still getting laughs. And so they gave us Normal, Ohio, starring the legendary John Goodman as a middle-aged gay man moving back to his small-town home in the Midwest. Goodman played Butch Gamble, a blue-collar, beer-loving, football-watching guy who just happened to be gay. A refreshing idea for a sitcom at that time. The concept aimed to challenge stereotypes and show that not every gay character had to be portrayed as flashy or overly dramatic. Fox saw this as a bold step forward. Goodman was already TV royalty from his Roseanne days, and audiences trusted him. The pilot tested decently and optimism was high, but things got complicated fast. Early test screenings revealed a surprising issue. Audiences didn't believe Goodman's character was gay enough. Fox executives panicked, fearing viewers wouldn't understand the show's premise. So they made a big mistake. They reshot the pilot and changed the tone completely. Suddenly, Butch went from a believable, grounded character to a more flamboyant, stereotypical version. The new jokes revolved around pop culture references, fashion, and exaggerated mannerisms. The very cliches the show originally wanted to avoid. The creative confusion alienated both sides. Some thought it was mocking gay culture. Others thought it was being too careful to offend. Critics were divided but mostly unimpressed. Some praised Goodman for taking the risk, while others called the show well-intentioned but toothless. The biggest problem? It just wasn't funny. The pacing was slow, the punchlines predictable, and the tone uncertain. After 7 episodes, Fox decided to pull the plug. The experiment was over almost as soon as it began. In hindsight, Normal, Ohio wasn't a bad idea. It was just too early, too cautious, and too inconsistent. If it had aired a few years later, During a time when TV was more open to complex LGBTQ+ storytelling, it might have found its place. John Goodman later said he didn't regret doing it. He felt it was important to show a different kind of gay character. But even he admitted the final product didn't live up to the promise. Normal, Ohio remains one of those shows that people barely remember, but should, because it tried to push boundaries at a time when most sitcoms still played it safe. The year 2000 and the art of the flop. Looking back, the year 2000 was one of the strangest and most experimental years for American television. Networks were caught between two worlds, the fading glow of the laugh track era and the unpredictable rise of reality TV and internet culture. Everyone wanted to find the next big thing, but in doing so, they stumbled through a minefield of creative misfires. Each of the shows we've looked at had potential. Bette and the Geena Davis Show had movie star power. Comedy tried to bring the internet to primetime. The Michael Richards Show banked on a beloved character. The Trouble with Normal dared to be weird. DAG had political promise, and Normal, Ohio had progressive intentions. Yet every single one of them fell victim to the same TV trap. Confusion over tone, over control from networks, and the pressure to become an instant hit. Television in 2000 didn't have the luxury of patience. Today, shows get time to grow and find audiences through streaming and word of mouth. But back then, if you didn't deliver in the first 2 weeks, you were gone. Still, these failures weren't meaningless. Each one contributed to shaping the TV landscape we know now. The lessons learned from these flops helped networks take smarter risks later, leading to shows that balanced heart, humor, and innovation much better. So, here's to the forgotten experiments of 2000. The sitcoms that tried too hard, aimed too high, or arrived too early. TV history isn't only written by the hits, it's also built on the lessons of the flops that dared to try something different. And who knows, maybe one day, someone will dig up Comedy or Normal Ohio on an old VHS tape and give them the recognition they never got the first time around.